5:30 tomorrow.
No, it probably won't happen. I'll try, but there's no chance. Yeah.
All right.
Here we go. Yo, it is another edition of the High Hopes podcast, presented by Miller Lite. We love Miller Lite, and definitely needed some Miller Lights to get through this game. Shout out to Jack Fritz. You know, the never a doubt, nicely done there with the Miller Lite. Never a doubt thing is a bit, obviously, but I texted Jack. I'm like, looks like it's going to be another classic bummer of a High Hope Sunday pod. And Jack said they're going to win the game, and they were down 6-3. And did you think it was going to happen that way, Jack? How about it? Thank you, Mets. Who'd have thunk it? With first, I guess, to win the first series against the Mets since 2021, it probably had to look like that.
Oh, my bad. My mic wasn't on.
I was like, I couldn't hear you.
No, you had a panicked look in your face, and I said, oh, no, there's something clearly off here. We're all good. But if you had texted me after the Alonso home run, I would not have had the same response. Like the Alonso home run, I was like, oh, great, here we go. And that's when all my notes turned into meltdown Jack notes, which I don't know if you can tell, probably not the best idea. And if I do lose power, I just want to let everyone know it is pouring rain here.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing they finished the game when they did. Like if they had let the Mets tie it, it got really dark here. And I live, a mile and a half, 2 miles, whatever from the stadium. It got dark, dude. So yeah,
it was
they just finished it
pouring. It was pouring in the eighth. So, but yeah, like they won, and I would believe me. I would love nothing more than to come on and be like, oh my God, what a win. Like great stuff. It just wasn't an inspiring weekend of baseball. Like even Friday night, I didn't think the offense was very good. I thought the Mets kind of gave them that game. Saturday, I felt like they should have won. And they just played bad. And today they were mostly bad until I just can't understand how, for the life of me, you and I, believe it or not, we are not baseball GMs.
No,
but I think if I had Steve Cohen's money, I could 100% build a bit better baseball team than Billy Epler.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, anyone could. I mean,
they have the highest payroll in the history of sports,
by a fair amount.
And it's like, how do you have that guy Brigham or whatever? How do you have Vinny Natoli?
I had never heard of these guys.
Well, hold on. No, stop. Vinny Natoli.
I've heard of Vinny Natoli.
He has a National League Championships ring.
Yeah,
so
I've heard of Vinny Natoli before.
He appeared in 2 games last year. He has a ring.
I had never heard of Jeff Brigham, so I figured I'd just I'd go for the hyperbole a little bit. But you're right. What are they doing here? Who are these guys coming into an important as much as for our sanity, we needed the Phillies to win this game and to at least come out of this weekend putting the Mets further away as bad as the Mets are. And as the Mets gave them the game today, imploded. The Mets lost this game more than the Phillies won it today. I think that's what you're trying to say there.
2-1-5-5-9-2-94-95.
As desperately as we needed that win for our mental sanity, the Mets needed this win way more. This was a massive, they have to win this game today. Buck could get fired tomorrow. That was such a must-win game for the Mets. And they have a 3-run lead in the 8th inning, and they're bringing in these guys. What is this team? I'm so with you, dude. I'm so with you.
They are atrocious. I mean, the Mets are legitimately atrocious. And we talked about this, and thank God it wasn't a total jinx, because there was definitely a part of me that after final out on Friday, I started off with Meet the Mets. Yesterday, we talked about how they just look like a dead baseball team. Thank God they didn't lose both after, that. They lost one, and the one was frustrating. But it's just they look like such a dead baseball team.
Oh,
just
man.
even even Kanya or whatever getting thrown out in the ninth. It was just like, Buck had to get thrown out in that situation.
Oh, I know.
And Verlander's kind of like has like a blank stare looking at the field, like, what did I get into? Francisco Lindor, who like for years is like one of the most fun players watching baseball. He looks miserable.
His nickname was like Smiles or whatever.
Yeah,
he's always smiling. He looks like he's like has to take a dump or something. He looks so miserable the entire game. It's horrible.
That team, man. They are just, and there's shout out to NBC Sports Philadelphia, because there is nothing
Mets fan leaving there at the end.
It's no one's better at locking in on Mets futility quite like the camera crew, because it reminded me of
an Emmy for that one like cut right there. It was so perfect in that moment, because it was still tied. It was before the winning run scored, and that dude's just like, I am out.
And that's, on one hand, like, it's funny because the Mets. On the other hand, it's like, I respect that guy. Like he's seen this.
He
exactly.
He's like, there is no way we're winning this game. He's like, I don't care what happens. We know that feeling. Like, we know that feeling. And it's so funny because when he walked out, I'm like, yeah, I knew we were going to win in that moment. Like Kimbrel, I was like, even when Kimbrel, and I want to get to that because I have a question for you, but even when Kimbrel, puts the leadoff runner on, I'm like, we're fine. Like, the Mets are not winning this game. Like, they got nothing, dude. Nothing.
The funniest part about Mets and Phillies fans is that we're pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like we both expect the worst thing to happen all the time.
Yeah.
And today reminded me a ton of, now obviously the stakes were not as big. The Mets were not leading the division, whatever. But with all the Mets fans like watching a meltdown, it reminded me of the Utley game, like the walk-off where in like what, 07?
Oh yeah, sure, in 07, sure.
Where they're the same thing, like Mets fans like, oh, they can't stand to watch it, and it's like, oh, we're doing this again. So yeah, I'm glad they took 2 or 3. It was important that they did that. I'm just saying that ever since last Saturday, I haven't liked the brand of baseball they've played.
Yeah, well, we haven't talked on the pod since the Braves series because, it was the rain out and the 2 games, and obviously they've lost both, so you knew we weren't going to be here. But, this was a bad week of baseball on the whole. Ultimately, I think they're lucky to come out of it winning 2 of 5. But on the whole, like, this is a disappointing week of baseball. It was a week we're looking forward to where we're like, all right, we got the Braves and then the Mets. And obviously they didn't play one of the games they're expecting. But, if you rain out that game, you want to win the week. You want to win the week. You want to split with the Braves and beat the Mets. And they couldn't do that. And I know they were in it with the Braves. And, I'm not concerned long term or anything like that. But it was frustrating. And especially, I think the thing that concerns you right now, and you got to hope that these guys, to use the phrase we have maybe overused and maybe should never use, get to their back of the baseball card numbers. But I mean, the lack of power, obviously, and just consistent offense, period. I mean, Trey Turner today hits a home run. Like, it was like shocking to see it go out. They had a couple yesterday. The Casty one. But, Schwarber, after a hot June start, is kind of turtle up a bit. Harper is, we talked about it on the radio yesterday, but you're concerned about the power thing when you look at some of the numbers of past guys. I think if you're looking at one thing right now that you could say, all right, this is a real concern for this team and they need to figure it out, it's the lack of power, which leads to lack of consistent run production.
And I hear you, and I agree with you. I just don't know where it's coming from. Like, frankly, like outside of a Harper hot streak, and it stinks because I thought Bryce, he just missed 2 today. Like, just missed 2.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely concerned about the power with him. I laid out yesterday on the radio, like, Ohtani, 18 home runs after he came back from Tommy John. Corey Seager, 15 home runs, I believe, when he came back from Tommy John. Didi, we all know, power totally zapped. So, like, it wouldn't be surprising. Doesn't mean he's a bum. Doesn't mean he's not a good player. It's just the reality of the situation that it takes a long time for these guys to have power coming back from Tommy John. I will say, very positive that he did hit 2 balls that, like, if he just squares up, they're gone. So that's a good sign, but that's not something I can totally, well, I can bank on it because he's Bryce Harper. And I keep trying to reverse jinx this thing into him going on a power streak, but whatever. Outside of him, I just don't know where the power's coming from. Like, Schwarber, again, like, big hit by pitch today.
Massive. Biggest play of the series for him.
Yeah, for sure. Good catch at the wall.
It was. Yes, it was. It was a nice
never doubted my guy. Never doubted.
Baby hop of a jump and kind of lightly tapping into the wall. It was very impressive.
It was a good tap. It was a good tap.
Maybe his best catch as a Philly.
But outside of that, I think the power thing for JT he's not a power guy. He's a hitter. Castellanos, you'd like it, but I'll just take what I'm getting from Castellanos.
Yeah, you can't complain about him, and especially he's never, other than that 34 homer year, he's never been he's not like a big time home run guy. He's had 29 and mid 20s and stuff, but after last year, if you get 20 out of him, you're happy. And he's on pace for what? I haven't looked, but 16, 17, something like that. So
no, he's on pace for over 20.
Over 20. All right. So either way, then you know what? The point is, if he's gonna hit 310 and do that, I get zero complaints about that. Yeah.
Now, part of that obviously is that he's playing in the Tiger Stadium, which is doubles.
Cavernous.
Yeah, exactly. But with him, I'll take the home runs. If you can get the 20, great. Trey Turner, I thought he in the 7th, I want to say, maybe the most hung pitch I've seen all season. He missed, which was annoying, but he did have the home run.
He had a great day today. Today, he was probably the biggest reason they won the game in terms of the homer, obviously getting it going, the stolen base, the error causing disruption. You got to see kind of some of the stuff that we haven't seen enough. I mean, that was Trey Turner scoring from first on a walk on his own merits without anything else happening is that's the kind of stuff that he could do and can rattle players and matters if we haven't seen it a lot. So that was good.
Well, what has to happen in order for him to be able to do that?
Yeah, he has to get on base. Yeah, walk.
He has to not swing at 58-foot pitches.
No doubt.
Seems like a big thing. But Turner, it's so that was our first. Oh my God, Trey Turner! I mean, the walk off was great, but part of the value of Trey Turner is everything, everything, and him being able to do that, that's Trey Turner. And you just have to hope that he gets on base more, because if he can get on base more, then we should be able to see more of that. And if we see more of that, that's exciting baseball. The interesting thing about Trey is that he's definitely cooled down, in June. But it feels like I think Castellanos is the guy that I want up most with runners in scoring position,
without a doubt.
I know Bohm leads the team in RBI. But
so this is a great question. So if you, all right, let's do a top 3, because I think you were going towards Turner second. Is that where you're going?
Because he's been really good.
I would probably, it's funny because I would probably have him third. I mean, Harper, if you need one run, Harper getting a single is a decent shot. But honestly, I would go Casty 1 and probably Stott 2. I just feel like if Stott, at least he's going to get a good at bat. He's going to put the ball in play. He's got as much chance to get a hit as anybody on the team, it feels like, other than Casty. So I would probably go Stott 2, but it is frustrating. I was thinking today, and they came back because of the hit batsman and this and that, and give them credit. They hung in, they worked good at bats. They got on base prior to that and all that. But, and Trey got the hit and all that. But it's how nice it would be if we could just hit a 2-run homer every, once in a while, and a 3-run bomb. Boom. Look, we're winning. It's just it's everything's pulling teeth, No,
it feels like all I do is hit solo shots. It's oh, there's a solo shot. Awesome. But and again, I think we talked about this yesterday on Go Birds / I Hopes Radio. It's just they're look at the best teams in baseball. What the Phillies are coupled with right now are now the Reds are hot, but they're coupled with the Reds and the Marlins and the Pirates and all these offenses that are just anemic.
The Giants.
Well, but meanwhile, at the top of the home run,
where their offensive stats are. I thought you were talking about teams that are kind of within the standings and fighting.
No, I'm strictly talking about home runs.
Yep.
The home run number, for example, so the Phillies are They're one behind Boston, but then right behind them is Cincinnati, Kansas City, Oakland, Miami, Colorado, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Washington,
I
Cleveland.
mean, that is some yikes city right there.
It's not who you want to be around, believe it or not. And you look at the best teams in baseball, or the leaders in home runs: Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Dodgers, Angels.
Yeah, they're winning games, buddy.
They are. Yankees. Now, this is obviously hurts my point, but like St. Louis is 6. But every other team in the top 10 is over 500. I mean, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, LA, Yankees, not St. Louis, Minnesota, Texas, San Fran, Baltimore. I mean, they're all winning teams. Meanwhile, the teams around the Phillies,
a few of those are like really. I mean, the Rays, Braves, Orioles. Those are like 3 of the best records of baseball. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not breaking news here, but like it just goes to show how important hitting home runs is. And
Rangers, I'm sure, up there, and they've just been hitting. Period.
Rangers they're 8th in baseball in home runs.
Yeah, exactly. They're one of the best teams too. So, yeah.
And the problem when it comes to relying on stringing together singles or whatever to score runs is that these pitchers are just too nasty these days. Like, that's the biggest problem with it, is that these pitchers today, everyone comes out of the bullpen throwing 96, 97, it seems like, except for the Mets bullpen, which is like Vinny Natoli. It
wasn't even like wild because they threw hard. It was like, like their like junk stuff is wild. It was so weird.
They are built so much like some of the bad Phillies teams of the last couple of years.
Oh yeah,
like they really are.
Yeah.
But like it's in today's baseball. It's really hard to string together hits. Like, it really is. It's hard to rely on singles to score runs. Like, it's just not that sustainable. I know people love the bat on ball thing, and yeah, it's important, but you have to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Like, there's no doubt about it. It is modern baseball, and they don't have the horses right now. Maybe Derek Hall comes up, especially after the Cody Clemens at bat in the 9th or in the 8th.
Thanks, dude. Yeah.
I mean, like, would like to see Derek Hall up here ASAP. Yeah. But it's just, until the trade deadline, until they have a bigger plan when it comes to this stuff, it's kind of what they're going to be, unless Harper gets hot. Turner mixes in a home run. Schwarber gets back to it. Castellanos, we'll see. JT, Stott, Bohm, Marsh, Like, it's up and down the lineup after you get past 4.
Yeah, and that's Harper. Harper's really, once you get past 3, and and look, it's a great point. But what you really have to hope for is that they, all the people who want a pitcher for the trade deadline, like, maybe if it's a fifth starter, I'm fine, but like, they got to go get a bat, man.
Which is, I can't believe we're here.
I can't believe
we're here.
But like, ultimately, what you hope for is, look, they're still 3 games above 500 right now. They're winning baseball games. They're playing much better baseball than they were before. This is not a sustainable thing to win the World Series, I think, in terms of this power. But Harper is still early in his comeback from this thing. He came back, superhuman early. Like, we saw him last year when he came back from that injury, the broken wrist, and that's historically the hamate bone injury or whatever that is. Historically, that's to sap your power when you come back that year injury, and it looked like that in the regular season. And then the playoffs come and bang, he's Bryce Harper. So I think you're hoping that over the course of the season, Harper kind of develops more strength, and the more he uses it, the more he kind of builds that power back up and gets there as he's getting closer. It does seem like. So I think there's legitimate hope there. I don't think that's like foolish to think that you'll win it. I think the overall numbers will look like those numbers you talked about. Look, he's only at 3 so far. Like, to get to the numbers, the comparatives that you talked about with those other guys, he'd still have to have a stretch where he hits a fair amount of home runs, And like, if he's going to match Ohtani's rate or whatever, from those years.
I mean, like, there's 5 days left in June, 6?
Yeah, so there's 3 months of baseball left. So,
but what I mean by it is he hasn't hit a home run in June.
Yeah, exactly. None. And he only had 3. I hit him early. Like, so that's the point. So you hope it comes back, and I think there's a real, at least, reason for hope. There might not, but I think there's reason. But like, the ones that are killers, it's like, JT is what he is. Cassie is hitting, like Bohm not developing that power. I mean, if you look at one dude where you could say, other than the Reese injury, which we keep, bringing up, but big freaking deal in this exact reason for this exact thing. But I do think other than that, I think the Bohm one is the one you look at and say that's the missed opportunity. That's the spot where that guy has the frame, skill level, whatever, to develop that power, at least more of that power. And he just doesn't do it.
Yeah. And he was good today,
and he hit the one to the really deep part, and obviously the getting thrown on the double, whatever. But yeah, he hit the ball well. Second. He hit the ball well, but
and I think what's happening with Bohm right now, if I had to guess, is he tried to do the pull thing and hit the ball at the ballpark, and I just don't think it's him. I just think that it's annoying, it's frustrating, but like at this point, give me what you did today. Like,
you can't complain. Yeah, give me 2 for 4 with a few RBI and whatever. Yeah.
Now I can complain if it's a lot of ground balls and not impactful swings and whatnot. But if I had to like guess and go through like Alec Bohm's mental psyche, last week it's been rough. He's not driving the ball at all. A lot of soft contact, and it felt like today he was just like, I'm going to do what I do, and if he does it, whatever. But it just, again, it also makes his margin for error so much smaller as well. Where it's like, to be a valuable player, because I mean, right now he's kind of, I don't know, he's just fine. But like, to be a truly valuable player, then you got to hit closer to 300. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, like, he's batting 264.
You can't
right
be a
now.
slap hitter if you can't hit between 13 and 15 or 12 and 16 home runs and not hit 300 or close to 300 and walk more too. I mean, you really need to be productive in that area if you're not going to have the power, especially at a corner position, whichever one he's at,
Exactly. It's the corner position thing. Like that's what makes it so crushing in a way. And the defense has been good. Like, defense is like, so I don't even
good. Like,
I don't get worried anymore.
Dude, I'm so with you, dude. I said that to my brother. I was saying yesterday. I was like, so we were lamenting the lack of power from Bowman. I was like, it's so funny. It's ironic. It's like defensively, it's like I don't worry at all. It's like it gets hit to him. I'm like, he's got it. Like, I never worry.
It's vacuum. He's a vacuum at third base,
and he's been good at first without much, history there. He's like done a nice job.
Yeah, it's just the power, and it's. The last couple of games with him has been like really frustrating because it should be there. But if he can just be like, dude, if you want to be a right center field guy, like, that's fine. But at least, like, if you're right center field guy, hit the ball out of the ballpark to right center field. Like the home run, the home run in Texas. That's what I want. Mm-hmm. Like, that is perfect, Alec Bohm, to me. Like, whatever. But what I can't have is trying to pull the ball guy that ends up just jamming the ball into the ground to the shortstop or like the third baseman. Like, that's not a good version of Alec Bohm. Hopefully today was like a bit of a breakout point where it's like, okay, I'm just going to get back to doing what I know how to do. And if the ball goes out, the ball goes out. I've tried pulling the ball with power, but it just doesn't work for me.
All right. I have one more question about today's game, but quickly, and we'll get to the take back after that, but quickly, your thoughts just on the 3 starting performances we saw this weekend. Obviously, I think Christopher Sanchez I'm most interested in, but anything from Wheeler today that worried you, or is it just one of those starts and Taiwan just continuing to look really, really good?
At what point? I mean, his last 10 starts, his last 10 starts, he's been better than Zach Eflin. Like, for all the
great, he's been great.
He's been really good. He's been great. He's throwing harder. He's throwing with more conviction. His velocity's up.
He's getting strikeouts.
He's getting strikeouts. The splitter is splitting. Even the cutter I thought was interesting the other night. So it's tough. I don't want to say it, but you know how I feel. I trust him. and I no longer worry about Taijuan Walker starts, which is like a pretty high compliment. If you want to talk about,
how about this for a compliment? I picked him up for the spot start. I picked him up in fantasy in that Met start, and it was a great pickup. I didn't drop him yet. Like, that's a compliment. I'm like, I trust you to go out and pitch well with my fantasy team.
Yeah, and the way we treat our fantasy teams is like family members.
Yeah.
So,
like Jack said at the beginning of this pod, we're never going to be, or we are not real Major League Baseball GMs. This is as close as we get. So,
yet. Yeah. So like Taijuan Walker's good. Chris Sanchez been better than I thought, frankly. You know, he looks like just a perfectly competent 5. And the interesting part with him is when people are talking about like go trade for a 5th starter, trade for whatever starter, like what they have to decide is what provides more value. And if Christopher Sanchez can just go be that, then you can't tell me that going and using your assets on a hitter is not the better resource here. And like
what Christopher Sanchez has been is better than what Syndergaard was for them last year that they traded for as a 5th starter.
Traded who they trade for him?
Oh God. Yeah, dude. He's been on fire. Why not Meg? Because Meg's killing it in California.
5 for 5 last night, by the way.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
5 for 5.
You know what else he's doing? Hitting home runs. That'd be nice to have here.
Well, he does have 4 more home runs than Bryce this year. So, but who's counting? And
less games too.
Way less games. Anyway, so what they have to decide, and the other thing that like I feel like no one talks about, for as much as people talk about like, oh well, Bryce will be at first base. It's like, well, I don't know that. Like I can't. It's hard for me to be like he's gonna play first base when he's coming back from Tommy John, and like I am more operating.
I'm right there with you, dude. I'm so like we'll see, man. I would not be at all surprised if he doesn't play the field at all this year. Like that would not shock me in the least. You know,
so like I'm operating.
Honestly, I don't know if I want him to. Like, just worry about hitting home runs before you worry about playing the field. You know?
Yeah, so like I'm operating under the assumption of like, yeah, if he plays there, great. But I don't know if I can bank on that. What I feel like absolutely no one is talking about is like Andrew Painter. I mean, what if Andrew Painter just comes back and is your 5 starter, and then you have.
Well, did you hear Topper was on with us on the morning show and said he's throwing a bullpen, which was news, but also Joe had a good follow-up and asked, would you be at all hesitant to insert Andrew Painter into like, you know, playoff push starts? Like if you're fighting for a playoff spot in August, September, whenever he's ready. And Thompson was like, nah. He's like, I wouldn't really worry about it. He's like, this kid's really good. Like that was basically his answer. So it's like, you know, it's a really interesting point.
Yeah. And I jokingly rip the camera a lot. I think the Rob Thompson interviews you guys do twice a week are the best thing you guys do.
Nice.
Like
I think I would credit Thompson too. He's phenomenal. He's very honest, man. He says what's on his mind.
Mm-hmm. So like if you have like Sanchez pitching like this, I just don't know. I don't think the 5th starter thing becomes that huge of a problem if he's the guy and then Painter comes back. And if you want to go 6-man, you can, or Painter is just your 5 starter and Sanchez can be a bulk guy, especially like Strom was better today, but there's a part of me that wonders if they like phantom IL Strom here in a little bit because of the innings. I mean, they essentially
might have to. They might have
like
to.
It's been a lot of pitching, but
a lot of innings, man.
Regardless, like if you have Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Taijuan, Painter / Chris Sanchez, like,
oh yeah, dude,
it's mostly fine.
Yeah.
Like, not good. It's mostly fine.
It's fine.
Then you need a bat, and that was again that's been my takeaway all week. It's like they just feel like they're a bat short,
Big time.
I can't believe we're there because they should not be.
It's ridiculous, but that is flat out where they are.
But it shouldn't be, regardless.
Obviously, you know, like we can make fun of the Mets for their payroll. Like it's not like we have a cheap team.
Yeah, no, it's not like we're the Marlins.
The offensive department, you know. So yeah.
So I thought Sanchez was fine, and I think he's going to be fine more often than not. Regardless, he's not Dylan Covey.
Yeah, that's for sure. And Wheeler, anything? Was it just a weird day, or?
But it's been two weird starts in a row. Like I know people will look at Oakland and be like, oh, he was good. Nah, like he wasn't. And he just today felt all mechanical. It felt all mechanical because he was just a bit off on so many pitches. Fastball command was not where it's been the last couple starts. And the nice part about this Wheeler run right now is that even when he's not great, he's not bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that's like doesn't sound like a compliment, but that's what's made Zach Wheeler so great the last couple of years is during his stretches where he wasn't great, he wasn't terrible. The problem with like Nola is that it feels like he has those terrible starts mixed in. Whereas Zach Wheeler, his bad starts are like 4 innings and 4 runs in 6 innings. So that's like, for me, I think he's just working through some stuff. The fact that he's still hitting 97 in the 6th was important. It's just not a concern for me at this point. I think it's just 2 weird starts with bad mechanics in a row.
I agree with that. All right. Last thing before the take bag, and it's a pitcher question for you, Jack. I want to get inside the head because, look, obviously I feel pretty confident that those Mets pitchers did not purposefully hit the Phillies to give the game away. It would be a really, really dumb strategy. And I don't think that Craig Kimbrell wanted to put the leadoff runner on base, but is there any chance, because obviously there's been some friction between these teams already this year, that with those players getting hit, even if it wasn't on purpose, that when Kimbrell falls down in the count 2-0, behind in the count, saying, all right, I'm up against this a-hole, like I don't want to challenge him. Like I'm not going to challenge this guy. I'm going to walk him anyway. I'm going to pitch around him. He's probably going to take the pitches anyway. Why not throw it in his back? Thoughts?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a part of me that was like, I hope so. Like, I hope there was a part of him that was like, because what made it so funny.
It's all I can think about in the moment.
Is that after it, just started dotting 97 on the outside corner.
I know. And it looked like when at first I was like, oh, no way. And then I watched the replay and it didn't look like the pitch got away from him on the replay. Like it looked like it was kind of like, oh, like I think he was kind of going for it. I don't know though.
Well, and especially, obviously, you don't want to walk the leadoff hitter. I think if it was like 0-2, he's not hitting him. I think if it's 1-1.
That's what I said because he was down. Because it was 2-0. I think if it was not 2-0, I would not even ask the question.
And at that point, just thinking through it pitcher-wise, the worst thing that can happen is him tie the game up.
Well, and especially with the Mets lineup, to the point you made of the Phillies lineup, the Mets lineup really falls off after that. I mean, you got Tommy Pham coming up in there. Kanye. Kanye. It's like a really ugly. It's a big drop from Alonso. Like if you're down 2-0 to Alonso and you have to challenge him, like maybe just put him on and face the other guys. Take a shot.
Yeah. I like the theory. There's a part of me that's like, yeah, I hope so. Like, because listen, there's nothing more that I would love than bad blood between the Mets and Phillies.
Totally,
like,
and especially with that guy, they could hit him every time.
Well, it's just like just get up, Pete. Yeah. Like, just get up.
Who whines about being hit more than him too? Like, really? Like, I get it. I know it hurts. I'm not, an idiot. Like, I'm sure I would crumble to the ground in tears if I get hit by that pitch. But like. You're a big dude. You're like one of the NL like home run leaders in baseball guy. Like, stop whining. All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the most Elliot Shore Parks take I think I could have is like Elliot would say right now, if I had to guess, he would say, I would have just walked to first base.
Oh, of course he would. Elliot, of course he would. Of course he would. 100%. He would. Like, I would have taken it.
Yeah, and I would have felt nothing. I would have just walked to first base.
He would have been carried off on a freaking stretcher. Is what would have happened.
He would have been. Yeah. Of course he would have been. So I like the theory. I hope you're right. Thank you. That's why Craig's here to be to be an enforcer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's the veteran leadership, buddy, showing you how it's done. All right, what do you got in the take back?
Jeff Hoffman's looked good into 2 appearances in a row, which means that in a tie game upcoming in a big spot, he will be in. There's no doubt in my mind.
As much as I hated that move and still hate it, I'd much rather have Jeff Hoffman than what's his name who came in today, Brigham or whatever, in that situation.
100%. And Natoli. Dude, I think I'd rather have Covey.
I know.
I think I'd rather have Covey. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to talk about 2 straight scoreless appearances by Dylan Covey, but
no, don't talk about it. Move on.
Okay.
Move on.
Speaking of moving on.
Yes.
Andrew Bellotti in Lehigh Valley has not allowed a run yet.
Why isn't he up here? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It makes no. I was thinking the other night. Like,
here's
like all these guys, like, and Hoffman's been good and Marte's been good and stuff, but like it's just like where's Bilotti? Like that guy's pitched in big spots for you.
Here is my explanation of it. Covey has a place on this roster because
it has to do with like options, right?
No. I think it has to do with mop-up duty. Like, I think that's what it is. It's that he needs to be like, if one of these start, I think
mop-up guy. I agree with that. You do.
Like they do need a long man until Nick Nelson's healthy, and it stinks. But like they sort of do. Like if now the starters have been great. Again, their best stretch since 1964, which was a year that nothing bad happened to the Phillies.
No, perfect game, Jim Bunny on Father's Day. It's all.
That was the only thing that happened that year.
Only highlight of the whole season.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
But like, if God forbid one of these guys go 3 innings and they're down like 5-0 or whatever, that's Covey's game where you don't want to use some of these other guys.
Yeah.
So that's my explanation for it.
No, I think you're right.
The one that I disagree with is Marte, and I love.
At this point, Bilotti's better than Marte.
Of course he is. I mean, he was pitching playoff games last year.
Bilotti's better than Hoffman, probably. Like, and I like Hoffman, but I would probably rather Bilotti on the roster than Hoffman too.
Probably. I'm a sucker for 97 with it. Like you're asking the wrong guy. I'm sorry.
I know, buddy. Trust me.
Like, I'm a sucker for all these guys with stuff, except when he can't. Like Marte, I don't have confidence in. Like, I love the stuff. I love the arm. I'll never have confidence in him. So that's that. I do want to. It's not like serious. But I just want to, because you and I we don't lie to the High Hopes listeners.
Never.
And I just all I care about is like transparency. So like, there's gonna be more ads on the podcast. It's a good opportunity for us. I know that it might be a little bit overwhelming listening to it, but like it's a chance for us to hopefully make more money and all this stuff. So I'm sorry in advance if like you're not an ads person, but it's really not that much. Like, it's just not like it's not a crazy amount of ads compared to like, again, radio.
There are buttons that have been created that service certain things. And look, at the end of the day, like, and Jack and I, if we've met you, you know how much we care about the High Hopes community and what we built here and how much listeners matter. But the pod's free. You don't have to pay for it. So, let us, maybe hopefully, help out Zoe and Walker a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So,
kids, man, they're not cheap. So he's going to not a cheap school next year. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So just don't be surprised. Just don't be surprised if there's a couple more ads, whatever. I just wanted to talk about that. The loss of transparency.
You're such a stand-up guy.
Well, I just try to be honest. I'm not trying to. I don't want to like act like we're sneaking anything by people. You know what I mean?
No, I'm a big fan of that. I fully agree.
Obviously the loss of Sir Anthony is already like paying dividends. I mean, like the Hoffman game should have been Sir Anthony's spot. A couple of these tie games.
Dividends is the wrong thing. Dividends is good things. Dividends is when you get good things. I guess it could be bad dividends. Maybe there's such a thing as that.
Yeah, why don't you go to business school?
Yeah, well, it's already hurting us. Is the point?
Yes, it is already hurting us. I thought Brandon Marsh looked good, which is important because he needs to look good because he's the center fielder. I will say this about Brandon Marsh. I have never in my entire life seen a player foul the ball off their feet, their shin.
Oh my God, I know.
Like more than Brandon freaking Marsh, dude.
Unbelievable. It happens. At least it feels like once a game. It's not
funny. Like, at some point it's got to be like
clown feet or something like that, and he can't get out of the way.
It's like it's strictly because of his swing. Like, his swing is the reason why he hits the ball. Again, like, I've watched Utley, I've watched Howard, I watched Rollins, I've watched Harper, I've watched like a ton. Schwarber. Marsh fouls the ball off his leg once a game. Once a game. Like, there's no doubt about it. Once a game, Brandon Marsh is hitting the ball off of himself. And every time it happens, he's like, well, how'd that happen again? I can't deal with it. Like, stop hitting the ball off your leg. He was like hurt for 5 innings today. That's a weird thing that I've noticed.
It's a super weird one. That's a good point.
Dude, but you can't.
You're absolutely right.
I thought another weird thing I noticed a couple podcasts ago that is continuing to rear its ugly head.
Oh,
dude, they just can't turn double plays.
Yeah, I know.
It's so annoying.
It's still, well, I texted you. I was watching the Dodgers and the Astros last night, and I saw Mookie Betts turning a double play. And I'm like, they got a freaking, their center fielder is at second base turning a double play. And it's like, we can't, like, we never turn. Like, what the hell's this? Like, why, what was going on right now? Yeah, I had one of those.
They just, like, Turner's got a slow transfer and his arm's not great. But man, it's so annoying. It is like, there are a few things I can't wait, like, that I want to see again as a Phillies fan. One is obviously corner outfielders that can both catch and throw the ball.
Yes,
and hit for power.
Like an impossibility. I don't think that's something that's ever going to happen. If
seems like something that should be a prerequisite for playing outfield.
I don't feel good about that happening, if we're being honest.
And the other thing,
I had to, bet on what was going to happen. I wouldn't count on it. Yeah.
The other thing that I just cannot wait to eventually watch as a Phillies fan is just the simple ability to turn a double play. I can't sit here every night and not be confident that a routine double play ball is not turned. Yeah. It is just the worst. It was the worst. Speaking of the worst,
ooh,
Francisco Alvarez trying to get a strike call on every single pitch.
Oh, I know.
No matter if it's low, like, his framing was out of control. I am a very big framing guy. Yeah. I am like, I appreciate the art of framing, but don't hold the glove there like it's a strike when it's a ball. Yeah. And it's a ball and you're trying to trick the umpire. Mm-hmm. There was points, like, it was just egregious today. Like, I think it was a Schwarber at bat where the ball's like 4 inches under the strike zone. He's like holding it there, like, you're not going to call that.
No, no. Yeah, it's a good take. I like it.
So that was annoying. One more thing, and then obviously, like, we're 2 weeks in the draft, buddy. So I'm sorry, but give me 2 minutes.
Okay, we could do that. Is that now or one more thing and then that?
One more thing, because this is between you and I and now our listeners.
Uh-oh.
The Immaculate Grid is controlling my life.
Oh, buddy, it's everything. Like, it's Jack. It's all Jack and I've really talked about the last few days. I got my brother and his buddies hooked on it. Like, I spend so much of my mental energy on a daily basis now, and the couple of days I've done this thinking about it. I walk around thinking about it all the time.
So if you don't know what the Immaculate Grid is, essentially it's Wordle, I guess. I never played Wordle, but it's for strictly like baseball trivia. So if you just go to immaculategrid.com,
like a Wordle Sudoku combo kind of thing almost. Yeah,
but it's basically like, so today's, for example, it was like the teams on the top were Reds, Giants, and then an MVP. And then on the left side,
Astros, Giants on the top, and then Reds, Pirates on the side.
Sounds like you looked at that for far too long, because it took you 4 hours
to come up with a freaking Astro and Red. It's great. And then it was like 30 stolen bases on the bottom. You have to like match the boxes. Somebody fits both things. So it's a thrill ride. Let me tell you, it is a thrill ride, buddy.
So if you were a true baseball sicko, you gotta be like it, because I spent an hour today literally going through my head of just thinking of every single red and that. Like, I believe I uttered the phrase in my head today, was Octavio Dotel a red?
I did too. I'm not even kidding. I was Octavio Dotel a red was a phrase that came out of my mouth. I swear to God, all my life. That is hilarious, dude. Wow.
I need to look it up now.
Yeah, he was not. He was not. I looked it up.
He was not a red.
I looked it up afterwards. Yep, he was not a red. I looked it up
Wow.
afterwards. Yeah, because that was one of the ones. Afterwards, I looked up like the 5 or 6 closest ones. I ended up getting Wade Miley. Thank God. I don't know how I pulled it out. And I was only like 85% sure he was a Astro. I remembered for sure he was a red. Anyway, this is what we've been doing. It's the best game ever. If you love baseball, at first I was annoyed that there's only one a day, and then I was actually like, thank God there's only one a day because I would never do anything else. It would
Consumes you
completely. So yeah, good call. It was great.
Dude, October, by the way, quick tangent. These are the teams that Dotel played for: Mets, Houston, Oakland, Yankees, Royals, Braves, White Sox, Pittsburgh, Dodgers, Rockies, Toronto, St. Louis, Detroit.
Jesus, that is like Edwin Jackson-esque.
I did not remember him pitching for all those teams.
Like, no, I didn't either. I could have gotten Houston and Chicago maybe, and like
I would have gotten St. Louis.
And St. Louis, yeah, for sure. That's so funny. All right, before you take your minute, and I'm sure at least someone's going to tune out. 2 minutes, whatever. Shout out to Miller Lite, and shout out to the Miller Lite bar of the week. This week's bar is Monaghan's Pub. This week's Miller Lite bar of the week is Monaghan's Pub in Essington, where you can watch all Phillies games with $3.50 Miller Lite bottle special. Go to monaghanspub.com for more info. Shout out to Miller Lite. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Lite for Phil's wins. Do your thing, buddy. Do your thing.
So obviously I'm consumed with the Immaculate Grid and the Phillies. But man, I am just jonesing. And again, every year I have this rant, and every year it does not come to fruition. I thought maybe during the CBA they would figure it out. There's 2 things that the draft they need to change immediately to make it more interesting. One, they need to allow the trades of draft picks, because it makes me so angry that I don't think Chase Davis is going to be there, but I think he's going to go like between 20 and 24. And it's just like, my life now is around Chase Davis being a Philly. Yeah. I've already had visions of him replacing Schwarber and left and having a hose and hitting like cargo-esque bombs and like just being the coolest player in baseball. And I'm getting out in front of him not being a Philly, which is not where I want to be as a fan. So that's one of them. And the other thing is, obviously, you don't need to penalize teams for draft picks for signing and paying for players. Like, just stop. It's the worst. Like the Phillies don't have a 2nd round pick this year. I don't think they have a 5th round pick this year.
I couldn't agree more, man. It's so dumb. I just hate it. Dumb.
Absolutely hate it. But the 2 guys that I want to, so like Chase Davis is not being removed as my number 1 guy. Hurston Waldrep, who I sent you a video of myself holding a.
Yeah, you did, buddy.
holding.
Yeah, you did.
Holding a split change up. Like, I would die to have him be a Philly. Like, there's a couple other guys that, like, all of my guys essentially, James. Like, you want to know how? I mean, you want to talk about the eye? Like, all the guys that a month ago were going to be there at 27 are now going like 12 through 20. And it's just truly sickening.
Classic Fritz right here.
Well, it's just the worst, because then I get so excited, I'm happy, and whatever. Anyway, Johnny Farmello and Sammy Stafora. So Sammy Stafora is a New York shortstop who has been linked to the Yankees. Could be the next Volpe. We'll see. But if the Yankees pass on him, no? Volpe's going to be fine. I'm very confident in Volpe. But he's like the classic late rising Northeast high school player that doesn't get scouted, that one of these smart teams just steal in the late 20s. That's who Sammy Stafora is to me. And then the only reason I want Johnny Farmello, I've watched him, like the swing obviously needs some help. He clearly hits the ball really hard, but it seems like the Dodgers like are already working out a thing with him. And it's just like, no. We're taking him at 27. We're taking him at 27. You can't have him in the 2nd round. You can't do your little Dodgers thing.
This is good.
So I'm getting out in front of that. Either way, I'm all over the draft. Like, I just can't wait. It's like, I think about...
You're so giddy right now. You're way happier right now than you've been about any point talking about the Phillies winning the series.
Because it was
I agree. It's not a criticism, just a fact.
Why would I think about the 2023 Phillies when I could easily think about the 2026 Phillies? And I just like Chase Davis is he is perfect. Everything I want. He has all all I want is players that look cool hitting home runs. I feel like I haven't really gotten that. You know what I mean? I don't know. These guys just kind of hit home runs and they go. Like a little bit of cockiness goes a long way for me. So he also doesn't whiff and also make sure that the pitcher's in the strike zone. So that's a good sign. Either way, he's going ahead of 27. So I'm just gonna have to think about something else. And I have moved on to Sammy Stafora and Johnny Farmella.
Well done, buddy. Oh, by the way, shout out to you. Hate to do it. I met a young man named Ryan, came into the studio for the morning show and was a big High Hopes guy. Super excited to meet him. And I got to give you a shout out. I felt better about not cursing on the pod when I met Ryan. I was like, I bet you Ryan's mother, I believe her name was Mara. I'm sure she's happy that we don't curse in front of Ryan. So, credit where due, buddy. It was one of those real in your life things or in your face things where it's like, okay, well done, Jack. And, we don't lie. So, well done.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That took a lot out of me. I just want you to know that.
I think you, more than any human being on planet Earth, does not like to say, I was wrong.
I hate it. That's not true. We know a few people, someone who we know. That we definitely know a few people. Like one person in mind.
Do they have a hyphenated last name?
Oh, there's another one. Yeah, I was actually.
Oh, yes, there is another one.
Yeah, but regardless, yes, I don't like to be wrong. Neither do you. It's one of our things.
Yeah, but I adjust.
So do I.
My problem is here's the real problem. Here's the real problem. I'm always wrong, dude. I can't fight the good fight because you know what? Yeah, I'll probably end up being wrong. Yeah.
I like this. Oh man. All right. So draft's coming up. We'll have something cooked up for that because obviously we have to.
Yeah, obviously you care a lot. Obviously it's one of your passion projects.
Yeah, I will make sure something happens, and we'll be back. This is an important week because they got the Cubs and the Nationals, and then after that, there's some. I know August is good. We've talked about that, but there's some tough games after that, like the Marlins, who've obviously been playing great. They got the Brewers coming up in there, not the Reds, someone else in there, Padres in there. So they got some big games coming up. So this stretch of the Cubs Nats is when you hope they can take advantage.
Yeah. Now the problem is that, I mean, they just do not win games against the Cubs. I know. Now the good part is that they're coming back from London, so hopefully they're just
really good. Good point. Yeah, good stuff. I like that.
I mean,
that's huge. You're right.
I mean, usually in the NFL they get a bye week after that, right?
Yeah, it's a great point. I like this. I like where your head's at, kid. Well done. Well done. All right.
The Phillies not coming from London, but we'll be there next year.
Yeah, you're damn right, buddy. All right. You got anything else or dinner and bed and all the good stuff?
My final thought
is that final thoughts.
6 hours until the next Immaculate Grid comes out.
Love that. Yes. All right. We'll be back this week. Play the Immaculate Grid. You're welcome. That's all we're going to say. He's Fritz and Seltzer.